Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 9 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I want to remind everybody that if you want to speak on the comments at large or the open mic, you must fill out a public participation form. Sheriff Deeds has copies. And a lot of people have already got 10 speakers. And so that's 30 minutes divided by 10. So I can't do long division, so I hope nobody else signs up, but so that's 3 minutes apiece. No, but if you do want to speak, you must fill out a public participation form. And then on the agenda items, again, you must fill out a public participation form, and I must give it to the sheriff. The sheriff will give it to Miss Lang, and Miss Lang will number it and hand it to me. And if we start that agenda item, it's too late for you to speak on it. So please, if you want to speak, please, these public participation forms are very, very important. So with that, we're going to start today with the invocation, and I'm very, very happy to announce and very proud that today we have Pastor Dan Jones with us, who is the pastor of the Triple Cross Cowboy Church, which is also my church and my pastor. So he's a very good guy, so let's give him a warm welcome. And he does a good job.
Thank you, Judge. If you would pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you today and we ask that you would bless these proceedings. Lord, we also ask that you would bless this day, this special day in our country, that you have provided the opportunity and the privilege that we can go and cast our vote. Lord, we ask that you would preside over that today. And Father, I ask specifically that you would install godly men and women into office today, that you would help us, Lord, to preserve this country, one nation under God. Lord, again, I turn to this meeting here today. I ask your blessings on each of these individuals that have given of their lives and of their time to lead us and to make these important decisions in our county. We thank you for our county. We thank you for our state and our community. And Father, may unity preside and common sense and your will be done. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of the United States.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. That brings us next to the special presentation and service awards, and I understand there are none. So we're going to get right into the... Oh! Okay, I was told. Well, then we do have Rita Tilley here, who's been with the county for 10 years and works in the district clerk's office. And we have told, I'm sorry, I was told that y'all couldn't make it, but I'm so glad that you have. Okay, so everybody knows Tona. So tell us about Rita Tilley.
Rita is my office manager, has been on our criminal desk ever since she's been here. And she's been here 10 years, and she's a very valuable employee.
Good. Well, congratulations to you. Well, good. We want a picture taken of her, and with you got the special certificate there and the deal. So
There's your gift.
turn around there. There you go.
Oh, how many are you taking?
Okay.
Here. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay. Now back to the comments at large. Our first speaker here today is John Milburn. And since there are 10, it's 3 minutes per speaker. 3 minutes. All right.
Thank you, Court. John Milburn, 6411 Pinehurst Drive, 76049. I come here today about the abatement for the solar farm. My issue is that a couple weeks ago, our state representative, our new one, Shelby Slauson, was giving a presentation here at the courthouse. And she made comments because she is now on the committee in which we had the ice storm and we did not have utilities performing. She's on that committee, and some of the things she found is there is a paradigm shift that has occurred in the state. The paradigm shift, instead of having utilities non-regulated, is that they found out that green energy was making money thanks to the federal government, and other energy was not. As a result, the energy companies were not taking up with their energy production on that end because they were making money or guaranteed money green energy. I come here today because you're looking at an abatement. A solar farm or a wind farm is going to make money no matter what, thanks to the federal government. My issue is they don't need to double dip. They don't need an abatement additionally from a county when they're already going to be guaranteed, which no other, the other energy companies are not allowed that situation. So it's an unfair practice. So I'm not against solar, I'm just against double paying both my county taxes and my federal taxes to an entity. Hood County would only amount to maybe 25 to 30% of this issue. You're not significant in comparison to the school district in Glen Rose. So I would encourage you to take a look at this. I would encourage you to talk to Shelby to find out what is happening at the state legislature and what they have found. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, Mr. Phil Harris.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Phil Harris. I live in Pecan Plantation and lived in Hood County for 22 years. I wish to speak about the solar farm and your abatement decision. As I understand, the solar farm has been funded by the Inflationary Reduction Act, which I think is a bogus name, but that's here nor there. And so I would say it's been fully funded. And the abatement that they're asking for is now a double dip because I've already paid taxes once for the IRA, and now we would either pay again or lose tax revenue that we would have to pay again as a taxpayer. So to make this short and sweet, I would like you to vote against the abatement. And I think from the standpoint of it does not benefit the taxpayers in Hood County to much degree. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, next is Bill Riley.
Thank you, gentlemen. First, I'd like to discuss the environmental impact of the solar farm. The developer of the area in which I live recently did a land swap to avoid the substantial penalties that were going to be assessed against them for the runoff situation. Obviously, in the reinvestment area, there will be considerable grading, which will disturb the basic prairie-type vegetation and probably cause more runoff into the Brazos River. I realize there's a great deal of safety involved in solar farms, but also there is a risk. And that by its location and proximity to the Brazos River, there's a good chance that we could be jeopardizing the water supply for many municipalities downstream. Also, along the banks of the Brazos, near this development area, are two or three bald eagle nests. Now, I realize that the bald eagle is no longer an endangered species, but it is a protected species. And I think that consideration should be given to that, just the ecological impact. And lastly, given the political nature of Hood County, I would suspect that you gentlemen would consider yourselves to be conservatives. However, is it a conservative act to create a reinvestment zone which allows a Danish corporation, a foreign corporation, to gain access to federal funding and federal tax credits so that they can buy solar panels from the Chinese communists to put in our open fields to provide electricity, the bulk of which will obviously be consumed not by people in Hood County, but by the Metroplex and on down, Austin, San Antonio, Waco, that area. But it just seems to me to be a complete folly that we are creating a reinvestment zone so they have access to our federal dollars, and then following that with a tax abatement. And from what I understand in previous conversations, that tax abatement can range up to 10 years, and it could be from 1% to 100%, and that's confidential information.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the next speaker is Cindy Highsmith.
My name is Cindy Highsmith, and I live at 9712 Bell Chase in Pecan Plantation. I'm a Texan. I was born in Texas. My grandmother was born in Texas. My father was born in Texas. I graduated from high school in Texas. I went to college in Texas. I did my postgraduate in Texas, and my husband and I formed 2 businesses in Texas. And the reason why I tell you this is because one of the businesses that we formed was a company called Trend Green Associates, and we brokered alternative fuels. And what we did is we took waste from companies, and we turned that waste product, byproduct, into alternative fuels. And we used those alternative fuels to power cement plants and to permitted power plants. The one that's close to Nacogdoches is a good example. And we did that from Florida all the way to Lyons, Colorado. Mostly, we also took a byproduct, waste product from industry, and we did a lot of this in Texas, and we put that waste product into Class 1 landfills. And we did that over here in Turkey Creek. And so the Class 1 landfills, we solidified the liquid waste and took like from Georgia Pacific down in Diboll. And I read the whole 77-page document that was submitted by Yellow Viking 2. And there were so many things that bothered me. But what really came over me last night that really bothered me, and that I found so disrespectful to the judge and to the court, was that, first of all, you didn't even get the basic. Whenever we asked a corporation, let's say we asked a National Cement in Alabama to take a byproduct out of a corporation to use in their cement kiln, to fire their kiln, we would first thing, you give them the material safety data sheet. Did you get that? No. So you'd have nothing that tells you anything about that panel. That's number one. Did you get a sample? No. Did you get an analysis of the panel? No. Did you get a chemical analysis? No. A chemical analysis? No. You know nothing about the panel. Well, that's just a start. So then they would ask us, well, then I want you to pay, you want Trend Green Associates to pay for a chemical analysis, what they call a short prox. So we would pay for that. If they want something more than that, then we would spend thousands of dollars to give them a complete analysis. And then if they want to make sure that it's not hazardous waste, then you get what's called a T-clip. And then that proves to you there is nothing hazardous in there. Now, we're talking a wood byproduct a lot of times, but they want to know that there's being nothing emitted going up into the atmosphere. There's no sulfur, there's no chlorine, there's nothing that could possibly hurt the environment, okay? You have a treasure. The Brazos River is a treasure to Texas. There's no way you want to ever pollute that. And so I first had called TCQ, and I said, well, what do you do with solar panels? And first, they told me to call down to Creedmoor. They told me to call Texas Disposal in Creedmoor. Well, one of you gentlemen, I watched the proceedings from October 11th, and somebody really knew TCQ, and I called down there, and well, Creedmoor no longer exists. Texas Disposal no longer exists. So I called some people that I know. I called Karen Fuller, who's been the special waste coordinator over at Turkey Creek. I said, Karen, will you take industrial solar? Okay, I'm sorry. Industrial solar panels. She said, Cindy, no way, we're not taking those things. I said, well, why not? She said, because when you crush them, what's encapsulated in them comes out and it leaches. I said, well, you got a liner in there. She said, well, so what? You know? So anyway, look at the EPA site. Look at what it says about it. You can look at it. You can study it. But do your homework.
Thank you. Donna Thompson.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to share 3 considerations involving the proposed development of the Yellow Viking solar farm across the Brazos River from Pecan Plantation. First, regarding the investment zone and tax abatement. Can we have a reinvestment zone and at the same time deny the tax abatement? That I'm not clear about. If not, I believe we should not approve the reinvestment zone for Yellow Viking Solar 2. This company stands to make a huge profit by developing and selling the solar farm. If they are discouraged by not receiving a tax abatement, they may still proceed with the project. It's a great plot of land. Let's not underestimate our position in this transaction. Second, as you consider this project, at a recent informational meeting, it was mentioned that any development of this type being built near an airstrip should be reported to the FAA. In Pecan Plantation, we have 2 airstrips that are very near this planned solar farm. You might learn from the FAA about other projects of this nature. The FAA could be an excellent source to provide questions to ask of the developer in the use of the land near 2 active airstrips so that we are in compliance with this regulatory agency. Their information might further aid you in making your decisions about this solar farm project. Last, if the project proceeds, could we request an easement of trees be left in place where the Brazos River runs alongside the solar farm? That would be a nice concession by the developer for those who recreate on the picturesque Brazos River or at the beaches or homes in Pecan Plantation. Thank you for thoroughly researching this issue. As you know, things that you learn regarding this project can also inform decisions about other development in our county.
Thank you. Grant Wood.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Thanks to all of you for the opportunity to speak. I'll state the obvious. Today is Election Day. Many of the people in the United States have the opportunity to make their voices heard today. They'll exercise their right as citizens to influence the course of their city, their county, their state, and country. Unfortunately, many will not. They're disenchanted, the disenfranchised, the demotivated. As the elected leaders of this county, you should be asking yourselves, do I encourage participation in my political system? Do I facilitate dialogue? How can I get more participation, more understanding in my constituents? Have each of you asked yourself these questions? I know I've asked myself that question. I decided to run for office with the full knowledge of how it would likely go. But I'll tell you this, it's gone better than I ever expected. I've met many people and made many new friends and acquaintances. I've received support from many unexpected people and received derision from the usual suspects. The same stale, recycled names and labels that have been their stock in trade since, well, decades. It's the same old lies and fear-mongering. They just regurgitate the same dead ideas over and over. But those days are ending. There is a change in the wind. The citizens of Hood County are tired of the infighting, the name-calling, and frankly, the incompetence and grandstanding. It's time to go to work, together. Republicans, Democrats, and independents can and have worked together for the common good with civility and with respect. It's my sincerest hope that by tomorrow morning, the voters will have made a clear and unequivocal choice to reject divisiveness and embrace teamwork. It's not acceptable to allow elected officials to waste nearly $250,000 in tax dollars when they can't or won't implement necessary upgrades to county record-keeping software. It's not acceptable when county departments refuse to work together to solve problems. It's not acceptable when county law enforcement and first responders are grossly underfunded by people who attempt to zero-budget the county when it's growing at a rapid pace. Today is Election Day. Citizens, if you are sick of business as usual, y'all know what to do. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. John Highsmith.
Good morning. I'm John Highsmith. I live at 9712 Bell Chase in Pecan Plantation, and I'm here to speak about the Yellow Viking solar farm. I'd like to start by, we've talked about this a bit, but just saying the Brazos River is a regional treasure. And I'd call it the crown jewel of the whole region. And putting a very large solar farm in close proximity is a mistake. I'd like to compare it to another large solar farm. The largest solar farm in the United States at this time that's in existence, not what's under development, is Solar Star in Southern California, and it's a 5.2 square mile facility. They have 1.7 million solar panels, and they started in June of 2015. It's in Kern and Los Angeles counties, and if you know anything about that area, it's a very dry area. There are no rivers, there's no water there. They have 274 sunny days a year. When you look at Hood County, we have 231 sunny days a year. But the main issue, I think, is that this farm would be in very close proximity to the Brazos River. So I tried to look at what is the downside of this project. In other words, what are the risks? And one of the big risks that gets talked about a fair amount is the risk of fire, because you're going to have miles and miles of wiring, connections, batteries, et cetera. And as you can see, this is going to be the largest solar farm in the country at this point in time. And when I looked at a report by Fire Trace International, they said the solar industry is potentially underestimating the risk of fire at solar farms, partly due to a shortage of data on solar farm fires and also due to rapid growth. And research into the issue has given rise to suspicions that the fires at solar farms have really been underreported. So it's going to be very difficult for you to just go and see how many fires have there been. That's a hard thing to get right now. And the three major causes of solar farm fires are errors in the system design, faulty product, and keep in mind these panels are coming from China, and poor installation practices. And keep in mind, this will be done very quickly. I find the idea this can be done in a year pretty surprising to me. And then they talk about what some of the issues are and what their recommendations are, but they really say that, you know, you can do a number of things at this point in time: testing by third parties, additional safety components, standardized quality assurance, a system to replace defective or damaged components.
Mr. Highsmith, please
Yes,
wrap it up.
I'm
You're
getting
out
to
of
the end. But really what you need is a fire suppression system. That's what they say is needed in these kind of systems. The reason is, if you have a fire, you can have the runoff, and the runoff's going to go into the river. So the other issue is runoff just from the panels themselves without a fire, and the Federal National Renewable Energy Laboratory is researching how the panels affect stormwater and water quality. And my message would be, you're seeing a number of things develop in this. It's a very new industry, and at this point in time, I think it makes a lot more sense to wait, because you're having new information come out all the time on these solar panel farms. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Jessica Hall.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here to speak to you today as a concerned citizen regarding European Energy's Yellow Viking Development 2. Yellow Viking Development 2 has left out critical information regarding the reinvestment zone tax abatement application number 2077, which leaves many unanswered questions. The fact that this company has chosen not to name a party to conduct an environmental assessment per the application is deeply troubling, nor have they provided a mitigation plan to the court, which, if provided, would help to reduce and avoid harm caused to the lands, the animals, and our 7,000 residents here in Pecan. It is very troubling that Yellow Viking does not want to put forth this very small step in order to protect our residents and our environment. If they can't even commit to doing an environmental assessment and put that into writing for this project, then how can we trust them moving forward? When it comes to having health, safety, and consideration for the land as a priority, they have shown zero good faith. A recent bird mortality peer-reviewed study funded by solar energy companies has found that anywhere between 2.49 bird fatalities up to 9.9 bird fatalities per megawatt happen at solar photovoltaic farms yearly. Yellow Viking Development is proposed to be a 330 megawatt project. So by this we can guess that this solar farm could kill anywhere between 821.7 birds to 3,267 birds per year. In the 10-year tax abatement period, this number of bird fatalities could be anywhere between 8,000 to 32,000 plus birds killed or mortally wounded by Yellow Viking Development 2. Now I'll read a short list of rare species found specifically in Hood County. Bald eagles, which nest along the Brazos River and are heavily protected species. Black rail, black-capped varrow, chestnut-colored longspur, Franklin's gold, golden-cheek warbler, endangered. Whooping crane, endangered. Western burrowing owl, American bumblebee, monarch butterflies, big brown bat, black-tailed prairie dog, eastern red bat, eastern spotted skunk, horay bat, long-tailed weasel, muskrat, tricolored bat, endangered. Western hognose skunk, reptiles, smooth soft-shelled turtle, Texas garter snake, Texas horn lizard, western box turtle, chorus frog, and the woodhouse toad. Even though the lands may not look like a picture-perfect prairie, they are suitable to many species listed here. A short list of species I've enjoyed seeing just in Pecan alone is honeybees, summer tanager, white-tailed deer, wild turkey, ruby-throated hummingbird, painted bunting, Canadian geese that fly directly over the river and directly over the proposed solar farm site, Egyptian geese, red-shouldered hawk, turkey vultures, house finch, eastern bluebirds, cardinals, mockingbirds, American goldfinch, whooping crane, tufted titmouse, blue jays, mourning doves, Just to name a few, out of this list, which of these bird species do you think will be among the 8,000 to 32,000 birds that will be killed in the 10-year tax abatement period? My family and I say no to the reinvestment zone and no to the tax abatement. You have the power. Without the reinvestment zone tax abatement, European Energy cannot move forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly Burton. Kimberly Burton.
Sorry, I'm short.
Thank you for your time and what you do for the county. We appreciate it. My name is Kim Burton, and my family and I reside here in Hood County.
You speak a little louder, please, and into the mic. It's on, isn't it? Is it?
There we go. Thank you. I live here in Hood County, and like many others, I am a lifelong Texan. I just now acquired information regarding the proposed solar panel farm by Yellow Viking Development. And because I come from a long line of Texans and farmers in North Texas, I take offense to the use of the word farm for this type of project because in reality, it is a solar panel utilities project. It is quite disheartening to me to think about a utility project on such large scale covering the total amount of acreage of over 4,000 acres right in our backyard. My family we are going to, it troubles me that we have to go this far into it to put a stop to it, and we're going to affect many of our beautiful natural resources and residents. There are many wonderful people in this county, farmers, ranchers, agricultural workers, weekend boaters, retired folks, vacation homeowners, and local hardworking families. We all enjoy the beauty of the area built around the Brazos River, lakes, waters, waterways, hiking trails, camping grounds, and much more. And of course, this brings revenue when people come into our county to use these resources. We all look to the county and the city leaders for protection of the God-given natural resources, of this county. This project would destroy thousands of acres, create a heat island effect, which kills vegetation and wildlife, lower home and land values, destroy natural habitats, including species protected by the state of Texas, such as migrating birds that fly over that route. And as an example, if a moving or disturbing of the area, removal of trees or tree cutting during the migration or breeding season, this company must do a nesting bird survey to be in compliance with the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Solar energy is what we're teaching our children in school, even now as I speak, and this may be the science of the future. However, to plop down a solar utility project of such massive size down in the middle of all of these natural resources and populated areas, in my opinion, is wrong. It will affect thousands of homeowners, possibly lowering their land and property value, as well as destroying our natural ecosystem around the Brazos River that we all love so much. We beg you to please help us protect these natural resources and home sites. In every meeting, the spiritual leaders pray at the beginning of every one of these meetings, and I hope that we can all pray that you receive the wisdom and the strength to work through this dilemma and to come to a wise decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Tina Brown.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I just have a couple of things I want to touch on. The other day, my husband and I were up in this area, and I took him over here to see the Master Gardener's Garden. He had never been there, didn't know it was there, but it is truly a beautiful, calm place in this crazy world we live in. This time, I did happen to notice that this court is a donor to that, so I just wanted to say thank you for that. The trees, the bushes, the flowers, the vegetables, the bees, the butterflies are also important to our world. which brings me to the next topic, taking care of our environment. I just want to make sure that things that come up before this court are in the best interest of not only the taxpayers in a monetary way, but also for our community. My family moved here in 1989, but my grandparents bought a lake lot here in '76. So we have enjoyed this little piece of the world for over 40 years. Finally, I would like to urge you all to do your research on any project you bring to this court for consideration. I would also like to remind you to not only assume your fellow commissioner or judge has done their homework and ask questions. Don't just assume the flashy flyer and the sweet words from a developer are the whole picture, because most of the time it is not. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the comments at large. So don't forget that if you want to speak on agenda items, you must fill out a public participation form, hand it to the sheriff, and the sheriff will hand it to Ms. Lang, county clerk, and she will then in turn hand it to me, and at the appropriate time I'll call you. So that brings us now to the consent agenda. Does any commissioner wish to question or pull anything from the consent agenda? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Judge, I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Commissioner Cotton has made a motion to approve the consent agenda, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further comment or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, there's no road ops business, so that brings us to development. Mr. Clint Head.
Morning, Judge.
Yes,
Morning,
sir.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
Development's accepted an application for a replat of the Cross Ranch tracks 12R and 13R and track 14 in precinct 4. Staff recommends setting the public hearing for this replat for the December 13th Commissioners Court.
Okay, December 13th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I hear a motion to set the public hearing on the Cross Ranch track for December 13th.
Yeah, I'll make that motion, Judge.
That motion made by Mr. Eagle. Do I hear a second? Second. Second by Mr. Andrews to set the public hearing for the Cross Ranch track, 12R, 13R, and 14. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now we're going to convene into a public hearing to discuss and consider the concept plan of prime Granbury lots 1 through 9. Yes, sir.
This is a public hearing of the concept plan of Prime Granbury. It's in precinct 4. This concept plan is located at 2825 Alta Vista Court and proposed to create 9 lots. The property is located in a rural district and will be served by well and on-site sewage facilities. It proposes to construct roughly 107,000 linear feet of private asphalt streets. The smallest lot size is 2.01 acres, and the largest lot size is 3 acres. There are no variants associated at this time with the concept plan. Staff has reviewed the concept plan, and all comments have been addressed. Staff recommends approval as presented if there's nobody to speak on it or after you close the public hearing.
Okay. No one to speak on it, so you recommend approving the concept plan?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay. We're now going to convene back into the Commissioners Court. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, Judge, I'll make the motion to approve the concept plan of Prime Granbury, lot 1 through 9.
Here a second.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to approve the concept plan of Prime Granbury lots 1 through 9, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, we're going to convene into a public hearing to discuss and consider the concept plan of ranches at Star Hollow Road.
Ranches at Star Hollow Roads in Precinct 1. This concept plan is located just south of 7200 Star Hollow Road in Lapan and proposes to create 135 lots. 24 of those lots lie completely in Erath County, and 9 of those lots are partially in Hood and in Erath County. This property is located in the Road Corridor District and will be served by well and on-site sewage facilities. The concept plan proposes to construct roughly 500, I got that backward. These are private asphalt streets. The last one was public streets, so I got them backwards. So this is, the other one was 598 linear feet of public asphalt streets, and this one's 107,000 private streets. So 107,000 linear feet of private asphalt streets. The smallest lot size is 2.04 acres, and the largest lot size is 3.21 acres. There are no variances associated with this concept plan. Staff has reviewed this concept plan, and all comments have been addressed. Staff recommends approval as presented.
Okay. Any comments? Questions? If not, we're going to convene back into Commissioners Court at this time. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, Judge, I'll make a motion to approve the concept plan for ranches at Star Hollow Road.
Okay, Commissioner Andrews has made a motion to consider the concept plan at ranches at Star Hollow Road, seconded by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now we're going to convene back into a public hearing to discuss and consider the replat of Indian Harbor Phase 3. Sir.
Lot 42R in Precinct 1. This replat is the combining of lots 42 and 43 in Indian Harbor Phase 3. Proposes to create a 0.479 of an acre lot known as Lot 42R. The property is located within the Water Quality District and is served by Emud Water and an on-site sewage facility. Staff has reviewed this replat. All comments have been addressed. Staff recommends approval as presented.
Any questions or comments? If not, we're going to convene back into Commissioners Court, and do I hear an appropriate motion?
Yeah, Judge, I move that we approve the replat of Indian Harbor Phase 3, Lot 42.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to consider the replat of Indian Harbor Phase 3, Lot 42R, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further questions or comment? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, we're going to convene back into a public hearing to discuss and consider the replat of bent water on Lake Granbury, Section 3, Lot 407R.
This replat is in Precinct 4. The replat is the combining of lots 406 and 407. It'll be creating a 2.369 acres lot known as Lot 407R. This property is located in the Water Quality District and is served by public water and on-site sewage facilities. Staff has reviewed this replat. All comments have been addressed, and staff recommends approval as presented.
Okay. Any questions or comments? If not, we're going to convene back into Commissioners Court, and do I hear an appropriate motion?
Yes, Judge, move that we approve the replat of bent water on Lake Granbury, Section 3, Lot 407R.
Second. Yeah, motion made by Commissioner Eagle to approve the replat, or consider the replat of bent water on Lake Granbury, Section 3, Lot 407R, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Head. This brings us to financial. Ms. Becky Kidd.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. You've all received advance information regarding the invoices that are due and payable today. You've also received a spreadsheet for payments over $10,000. Are there any questions regarding any invoices? No? All right. Invoices for fiscal year 2022, $73,361.01. Fiscal year 2023, $1,488,893.79.
Okay. You recommend approval?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear an appropriate motion to pay the bills?
Pay the bills for the fiscal year 2022 as stated and fiscal year 2023 as stated.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to pay the bills for fiscal year 2022 as stated and fiscal year 2023 as stated. Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay, this brings us to the miscellaneous agenda part of the deal, and the first item up is to discuss and consider and take appropriate action to establish continued support of the Agriculture and Natural Resources Agent position and allow for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension to move forward with the hiring process to fill the vacant position. And we have with us today Ms. Hannah Hoffman,
Yes.
who kind of heads up that department. And she's up here to ask our approval so we can
Yep.
try to get a replacement for London Fair, who left us.
Yes. So London's last day was this previous Friday, so I just need y'all's support in moving forward to hire in that position so I don't have to do this all by myself.
That's right. Well, y'all do a lot of good, and we're proud of both of y'all, and y'all really were a good pair. I hope we find somebody else. I personally am in favor of this. AgriLife does a lot of good things for the county and really do that. So do I hear an appropriate motion from one of the commissioners?
I'll make a motion that we continue the support of the Agricultural Natural Resources Agent position and allow Texas A&M AgriLife Extension to hire to fill the vacant position.
Second. All right. Okay, motion made by Commissioner Andrews to continue the support for the AgriLife program and to move forward with the hiring process to fill the vacant position. Second by Commissioner Cotton. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, brings us to item number 2, discuss and take appropriate action to provide recommendation to the Board of Directors of the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District to appoint a member to fill the current vacancy. Okay, so there were 3 applications, as I believe, in this thing. Do I hear a motion from?
I move that we approve and, make a recommendation to the Board of Directors, Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, Mike Massey.
Second. Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to recommend to the Board of Directors of the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District to appoint Mike Massey to fill the current vacancy. Second by Commissioner Cotton. Any further discussion?
I certainly don't want to cast any aspersions or anything like that, but I feel like Mr. Lusk was a better qualified candidate, a good history of working with aquifers and water and stuff like that. So I was in favor of supporting Mr. Lusk on this deal. I know I talked to him last night and he couldn't be here today. He's had a family emergency in New Mexico and couldn't make it, but feel like he had some good qualifications on that.
Well, let's go get it vote on this.
Well, could I say something, Judge? The procedure on this appointing or getting somebody on the board, we had Richard English put in his resignation, which was effective October the 20th. And the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, due to local statute, the Board of Directors appoints the vacancy, and it's been their practice to go to we've got 4 counties in the Upper Trinity. It's been their practice to have the Commissioners Court suggest somebody or recommend somebody and take it back up to them. They still have to vote on this. So I'm just throwing this on the table. It might be an idea to send them both up there and let the Upper Trinity decide, let them make the choice. It's just an idea. I know there's a motion on the table that needs to be voted on, but I would be urging to let both candidates go up there and let the Upper Trinity Board of Directors make that choice.
Well, we do have a motion on the floor. Let's go ahead and vote on the motion that we have. So, motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to recommend the Board of Directors to appoint Mike Massey and then to fill the current vacancy, second by Commissioner Cotton. So, is there any other discussion? If not, let's vote. All those in favor of appointing Mike Massey, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You said appointed, but you recommend.
Recommend, yeah, recommend for the appointment. Okay.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay for the reasons stated.
Okay. Okay. Item number 3, discuss and take appropriate action to change the deadline requirement for items on the November 29th, 2022 Commissioners Court due to the holiday schedule of Thanksgiving. Invoices and line item transfers will be due to the Auditor's Office by noon Friday, November the 18th, 2022, and agenda items by noon on Monday, November the 21st, 2022. This is because being closed for Thanksgiving on Thursday and Friday. So do I hear any motion or comments?
I'll make a motion that we change the deadline requirements for items on the November 29th, 2022 Commissioners Court due to the holiday schedule. Invoices and line item transfers will be due to the Auditor's Office by noon on Friday, November 18th, 2022, and agenda items by noon Monday, November 21st, 2022.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to change the deadline requirements for the holiday schedule, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 4. Take appropriate action to approve a contingent fee contract with Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott, and also Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. No, I was just kidding there. That's a little humor there. That's the law firm that I think Cotton Howe recommended and we approved in court. And pursuant to Article 103-0031 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, said contract being for the collection of delinquent government receivables owed to Hood County Justices of the Peace. Notice of said contract is posted with the agenda in accordance with Section 2254.1036 of the Government Code. I know we talked about that. I see the representative for Purdue is here. Good morning to you. Do I hear an appropriate motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the contingent fee contract with Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott.
Okay, motion is made by Commissioner Cotton to approve the contingent fee contract with Purdue, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further comment or question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations. Good work. Item number 5, consider and take appropriate action to allow the repair of the DA's 2015 Chevrolet Tahoe vehicle not to exceed $5,000. Mr. Ryan Sinclair, the DA, would you wish to address this, please?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. This is an item for one of the vehicles that my task force officers use. Currently, Dan Bradshaw uses a 2015 Chevy Tahoe that is having some pretty significant transmission problems and needs to be replaced in order to continue to be used by the task force. We had originally put this on at an amount of $5,000, but Commissioner Andrews has found a cheaper solution where we're going to swap a transmission from Unit 356 currently in use by the Sheriff's Office and put it into the Tahoe used by my office. That's going to cost $2,084.09 as quoted by Midas. So it's cheaper than the amount that's on the budget, and hopefully will allow that vehicle to be used for a longer period of time.
How many miles are on that transmission?
Well, the one that's coming out of the older unit had been rebuilt in September of '21. The engine went down. Fortunately, I was talking to Lieutenant Lison, and it just all kind of came out that we had a transmission there that might be able to work in this unit. And it was kind of a last-minute deal yesterday. We were kind of trying to pull all this together and get quotes and everything. And it worked out. That transmission will work in this truck. It was rebuilt in September of '21. And it seems like a better way to go to just get them swapped.
If we sell that.
Well, we can scrap the old one, the broken one. Keep the.
You wouldn't give much for the one that's rebuilt.
Yeah, that's no, I think it's.
There is a delta there, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
Spend $2,000 instead of $5,000.
Yep.
Ryan, you do not have these funds currently in your budget, correct?
I did. I would need to look at my budget line item as it currently stands. We do have a vehicle maintenance item, but I'm also, still waiting on vehicles to come that have been ordered and then canceled and then reordered and have not come yet, so.
Well, and if I ask you to pay for it out of there, that would hurt you in the long run, so I suggest we take it out of capital projects.
Okay.
Is that agreeable with the court?
Take it out of where?
Capital projects. Because I don't want to wipe out his vehicle maintenance line account. You still need fuel changes and.
And I still don't have the new vehicles that are supposed to be coming, so we may have future vehicle expenses that need to be paid on our task force vehicles as well.
If the court's agreeable, I think that's a better plan for paying this.
So we want to add that the money, the $2,034 is to be taken out of capital projects, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's $2,084.09, Judge. I'd propose rounding it to $2,085.
Okay,
Give the county 91 cents to
All
play
right.
with.
Don't want to cut you short there. All right. All right, do I hear an appropriate motion?
Yeah, Judge, I'll make a motion that we approve $2,085 from Fund 55 to swap the transmissions, and those two units are DA.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Andrews to swap the transmission and the cost to be paid out of Fund 55 to the tune of $2,085, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 6, discuss and take appropriate action to authorize the purchase of a, quote, less than lethal, end quote, device for Constable Precinct 3, not to exceed $800 from Fund 55. This is Constable Ellis, right?
Constable Ellis contacted me this morning. He's unable to be here due to personal illness. And basically, this is, the purchase of, a non-lethal device for him to have in his department, and with a not to exceed of $800.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Do I hear a motion?
As I move that we approve and authorize the purchase of a less than lethal device for Constable Precinct 3 not to exceed $800 from Fund 55.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to authorize the purchase of a less than lethal device for Constable Precinct 3 not to exceed $800 from Fund 55, second by Commissioner Cotton. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, this brings us to item number 7. Discuss and take appropriate action regarding the additional cost associated with the revised proposal from Tyler Software for JP4 and County Clerk's Office. Okay. Who wants to start that off? All right. Judge Gillum?
Judge, Commissioners, last week Katie Lang and I re-engaged Tyler in discussions, and we were getting some conflicting evidence about data transfer and deletion, and I spoke with Drew and Owen and Ashley in IT, and still felt that my office could probably go live with the Big Bang on December 5th. And so I was speaking with Tyler, Mr. Wallace, and he had some reservations about it and had to get with his team to discuss us re-engaging. And I said, what is the reality of going live December 5th? Because not everybody is at the same point, but for the Big Bang, and he said they may have to push it back a week or two. And I said, well, then my court especially, giving 2 extra weeks, could probably join in that and go live in the Big Bang theory. And I asked who all was participating in the Big Bang, because it was my understanding it was the whole county. And I found out not everybody's participating in the Big Bang. All 4 constables are not. Their offices are not. I was also told environmental, not sure about that, but all 4 constables are not going live until March of 2023. And so I asked, could we, Katie Lang or myself, join in that process? If I couldn't get in the December, whether it's December 5th, the next week, or the week after. And so I'm at a stall here with Tyler, and I think we need to sit down and discuss contractually what is available. Commissioner Wilson, you set up some guidelines in the contract, and then I got to looking at the invoice, and it was brought up last week. I think we need to renegotiate, or at least have a conversation with Tyler about that invoice, because there's some items in there in Phase 2 that we've already paid for. And if the county clerk and JP4 have not used that, we've already paid for it, and it's there for us to use. So there's some clarity that needs to be cleared up, some issues that need to be cleared up on that invoice, because I've got 10 lines here that's not really an in-depth explanation as to bringing the county clerk and JP4 online. So I know there is a dispute resolution clause in the contract that says we need to submit a letter to Tyler within 30 days of receipt of something that is in question. And so I think we need to sit down and discuss the exact man hours. And I know on the invoice it's an estimate of man hours, but on Phase 2 there's a lot of information that we've already paid for. So why are we having to pay for this again? So I just asked that the court set a date and have Commissioner Wilson and our IT director. And in the contract, I had a question. There is a user committee, the Hood County User Committee, and I'm not sure I know who that is. Do we have, in the contract it said Hood County will set up a user committee for the project. Does anyone know who that user committee is? Our project manager is Drew, correct? Okay. And the overall project manager is Tyler. So I think we need at least have a sit down and discuss, because I'm ready to re-engage with this to get us moving on, but we need some clarity as to what this invoice entails, and why can't, if I can't go on the Big Bang in December, if that's in fact when it goes, why can't we join in the second go live? Because right now Tyler's stating there's 2 go lives. The first one is for the Big Bang and the second is for the county clerk and I. Well, there's actually a third.
Drew, can you come up here and explain this?
Sure.
Okay. So there are multiple, as we call it, I guess, or as Doug Gillum's calling it, big bangs going on. As, of course, Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner Cotton, I know Commissioner Eagle sat in on one of the governance meetings, or 2 of them. There are multiple projects going on with different departments that utilize different Tyler softwares, all at the same time. So the December 5th Big Bang or go live is really for Odyssey. Now, like Leanne, she will have a different Big Bang go live on her software. The constables use softcode. They also have a different go live date as the other 2. Again, it is all independent of each other.
So the other JPs have, the other 3 JPs have a go live on December 5th?
Yes, that is correct.
So that's why it's not feasible to wait for the go live back in March for the constable, because it's a different software.
That is correct.
Okay, so that
Yes, everyone is essentially doing their own software at, their own pace. as far as the Tyler conversion overall. And again, those have been provided, but if you have not seen them, I can provide that information because that is given out every single month in all the meetings.
So that doesn't help, and that's the same thing with Miscellaneous on the bill. Her go-live deal.
Would have been December 5th,
December 5th. So
but that's out of the picture right now. So to expand a little bit, of course, during last Commissioners Court or the special call meeting, I was up here and I did send out an email. Of course, I copied the entire court and Matt Mills, basically stating, hey, there was a few questions. I know Dave had a few questions at the end of it. So I was hoping to, again, for the court to reach out to Tyler if they had any questions. I kind of sort of summarized in the emails because I saw no one really from the court or Matt Mills reached out at that time, and kind of summarized when I got the video done, you know, basically saying, I think this is kind of sort of some of the questions they're asking. I could be wrong. But of course, by this time, I'm hoping the court would have reached out to you at Tyler so they could have any questions answered. They did respond, of course, to me initially because I did not get the amendment at first. It was just sent to the court, you know, and I talked to Greg about this, and I was like, well, they're talking about this amendment. I never got the amendment. So Greg did respond to me eventually and say, hey, you know, this is what's going on, and answered everyone's questions. I know last night I saw you reached out with some questions last minute, and I think you got a response from Ryan. So again, I can't tell you if you still have any questions or not.
Well, I've read all the emails that went back and forth with Wallace, everybody. And like I said up here, make no mistake about it, this addendum contract was brought out because J.P. Ford, the county clerk, didn't go live on December 5th like they were scheduled to. So, and they have looked at it and they've said that, no, this is what it's going to cost because they didn't go live. They're going to have to go live whenever they schedule it, but they're not going to be with the other go-lives from the other department, as you just explained.
And that's my understanding as well. Like I said, Greg reached out to me and basically stated, no, they can't go live. These are the reasons why. We have to do this whole process basically over from scratch again to try to make the other two offices go live. And of course, that will be discussed after, I guess, the amendment or the addendum is signed, because to my knowledge, the way Greg gave me that email was, you know, Tyler delivers to contract. And right now, because the contract states we all go live and we are not doing that, therefore we have to make this addendum.
And they've looked at it from the standpoint, in response to what Judge Gillum said, that some of the stuff has already been paid for on the invoice. They have looked at it and said, we wanted to try to get some credit or negotiate down. Nobody wants to pay $220,750, but that's what it's going to cost, and that's what they're holding fast to. Am I correct?
That is correct.
I don't like it any more than anybody else here in the county, especially the taxpayers. But anyway, we got some other people that want to speak on this up here. David Ferris being number one.
So before you start the clock, I've got something to hand out. Hello again. I think you all know me. My name is David Ferris, Abe's Landing. I do have a some real problems with that addendum. I don't believe their story, but I'm going to back up a little bit because there are some other comments that the problem was caused by two departments backing out, all right? And to do that, I've given you my qualifications and backgrounds, because the last time I spoke, I did mention to the court here that I had 40 years of large-scale software and computer development. Well, unfortunately, I guess I fudged on that a little bit. I guess I wanted to act younger because I really have 45 years once I added it up. But the problem here is obviously a problem in MIS. What is MIS? Well, and I got to give you some definitions, which is going to take most of my time. Software development, information systems, that's a computer science discipline in college. And when that was started, it was quickly realized that over 50% of large software development projects failed because people used project management from construction or manufacturing, and those cannot work. So the discipline of MIS developed, okay? In 1970 is when it first had the first wave, and it's been pretty much a flavor of the month almost with new, better techniques. Well, when you look at something like this, I told you I had 40 years of experience, which means I've had at least 25 or 30 years experience dealing with, you know, I'm on that's on the computer side. I've got 25, 30 years dealing with actual management of projects, but mostly from the technician side, which that experience I told you would not qualify me to make an evaluation of what went wrong with this MIS project. That kind of a person is not qualified. So I needed to update my information. In addition to that, computer side, I also have a master's in MIS. Well, that alone would make me qualified. But in addition to that, I was an adjunct professor at the University of Dallas for at least 7 years until I moved away and had to give it up. And I taught MIS classes, specifically, mostly, the capstone class to tie everything together. All right? In addition to that, I was once hired by the law firm for a company you may have heard of called H&R Block. They were suing a major software development company, and I was the technical person that evaluated every aspect of the software. All right? 3.5, 4 years ago, I was the major lead on a major software development purchase at the company I worked at, which had an IT budget of over $1 billion a year. I can have so many parallels to this. It went well. The problem with this is not these. In the first 30, probably 5 or 10 minutes of that last meeting, I identified without a doubt 3 major issues. And the real issue is, I'm sorry, but somebody in development is not qualified for MIS unless they've got a whole lot of different training. It's there were at least 3 major issues that were absolutely obvious and provable that it was an MIS failure. And that's because there was no methodologies that have been developed and approved over the last 40 years. Those were obviously missing. And if you're not using some of the methodologies that are frequently approved, in general approval in the last 20 years, these are the types of issues. And I guarantee people backing out or having problems that they cannot move forward, that is an expected issue in any large-scale project. And it's something, there are very special techniques that you need to understand and how it should be handled. Real quick, I'll give you the one example. June 1st, there was a problem with County Clerk, if that problem had not been solved within 5 days with at least a plan on how it was going to be handled, if it were me, I'd have fired the project manager. And if they, but there was just no comprehensive methodology. I see this as a train wreck, and I'll be real quick because I know I can't get to hardly anything I put here, but this is a train wreck. I see no way to avoid at some point in the near-term future that there will have to be a forensic audit, a postmortem, whichever terms you want to use, of this IT project to go over what is wrong. I could give you probably 10 of them off the top of my head from just what I've seen.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Your time is out, and we have to move forward. Thank you. Okay, next is Tina Brown.
So I'm just a little confused. Is this, it said revised proposal? Is this the same proposal we were talking about last week, or has it been revised since then? Same proposal? Okay, so I wonder if Doug Gillum's office is able to go live, so the number of hours would be reduced on the bill? Has that been discussed with Tyler? Or is it a...
Tyler says they're not ready, that they can't be ready.
Okay. Oh, okay, so...
The emails that's what they've been doing, going back and forth, trying to see if JP4 could go with the other 3 JP offices. Tyler says they cannot.
Okay, so, but that also brings me to, like, are these number of hours that you're going to pay for, is that like set in stone? Could it be more hours? Could it be less hours?
That's what we were trying to do the last time, is to hoping that they would renegotiate and not cost the taxpayers of Hood County $220,750. That's what we were trying to do, to see if somehow we could do that. IT and Tyler and everybody else has been trying to do that, and Tyler has come back and says, no, this is what it's going to take at this stage to bring JP4 and the county clerk's office online when they can do it, but not with, as Drew just explained, with the constables and with the other departments that are using a, quote, different software.
Okay, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, what if they don't use all those hours? What if they can what if they put their nose to the grindstone and don't need all those hours? Are we still going to pay for all those hours? And it was also brought up that you were going to try and get a not to exceed contract, and I haven't heard anything about that yet today. So is that not an option anymore? Or are they just playing hardball and saying this is what it's going to cost, period?
Yes, that's what they're doing.
Okay,
now,
I was just wanting,
I can tell you, I guess, is after it's all over with or something, you can try to, never mind. I'm not going to
if we don't use all those hours, we can try to ask them for a refund or something, maybe? I don't know. I was just wanting clarification because I was just a little bit confused that if they could come, but
Trust
they
me,
can't.
we tried
Okay,
to get
okay.
it reduced.
Okay, well,
real
now
hard.
I have my answers, and so does everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Dr. Howard Granick.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. I hope back in the beginning of last century, people said that man cannot fly in heavier devices, and there were a lot of attempts that failed, but the Wright brothers got things to fly. So I hear saying, well, this can't be done. I would hope that the county clerk's office and JP4 will move with all expediency in parallel, trying to get this implemented. And if there are discussions, those be done in parallel, not in sequential. I think the delays have been the problem here. 3 JP offices apparently will implement or come close to it, and I think we should just move ahead and try to solve that problem and not make, excuses or such, or look at the fine print and say, well, if we change this, we don't have to do it or such. Let's all work together and try to get it done.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. So I have not heard anything, again, from anybody reaching out to me. I did agree to move forward on this if I could have some help, which I've been asking for since June 1st. Nobody has given me any recommendations. Nobody's reached out to me about that subject matter. Becky, I tried to reach out to her to have a meeting, and she's too busy with some big projects. I assume one of them's Tyler. So before court, I have not heard from anyone. So, the lack of communication still exists. I agreed to move forward, and it seems to be the problem that everybody keeps saying is that, Dub and I dropped the ball and we stopped working on this. Well, there were problems, and that's why we stopped. Those have not been addressed. My issues have not been addressed. So I don't know what you want to do to solve that. I would like to solve these problems. I would like to continue moving forward, but I'm at a standstill. I'm still at a standstill. So I cannot move forward until I get some help. I don't know what else to say other than, who else cannot go live? Is the district attorney able to go live? Because last time I was in a governance meeting, they were not. Is the county attorney ready to go live? I haven't heard. Last time I was in the governance meeting, they were not ready to go live.
My understanding is that everybody is going live, and there are different departments using various different types of software. So yes, indeed, it's ready to move forward. Everybody else is on the deal.
Okay.
You were scheduled to go live on December the 5th. Everybody that was
Yes.
scheduled to go live on December the 5th
We were.
is going live, but you too, except for the county clerk's office and JP4. All the other 3 JPs are going live on December the 5th.
Okay, and I have not had any help. And that's why I had run into these issues, these problems, and you're interrupting me. I have not had any help. I've asked for help. That's why I cannot continue to go forward. And I still need help. I can't go forward until I have help in my office. I have an employee out sick. She's been in the hospital the last week and a half. So I'm short on staff still. My chief deputy is still training other employees. My statutory duties, day-to-day business duties, I have to attend to first. That's my first priority. The conversion thing, now I do have in my budget where I can use the records management funds for an employee, but I still have to find an employee. And nobody has reached out to me to help me. So there's a lack of communication here that needs to stop. You guys need to communicate with me. You need to help me help me help you. Thank you.
We had our meeting on the 2nd. On the 3rd, I have my email here. Katie, good morning, Becky. When would be a good time to sit down and together and talk about what transpired in Commissioner's Court? I'm open tomorrow, all morning or tomorrow. And I said, I have 2 very large projects that need to be completed by Monday, and next week is extremely busy too. Could we meet on Monday, November 14th? Katie's response was, I have court in Somerville that day. How about Tuesday the 15th? I said, perfect. How about 9 a.m. at the Justice Center? That's fine. Cool, see you then. I don't know what more I can do. I want to help her set up a budget. I think she's going to need more than a clerk's salary for this. And then I was going to bring a line item transfer to court. I don't know what more I can do. We'll jump through hoops. Yes, sir, I jumped through hoops to help get this project off the ground.
What about paying for the 220? It looks like that Tyler is not moving to get along. We're going to have to pay the 227.50. There's no way around it. Am I right on that, Drew?
Yes, sir. That is my understanding.
I sent an email out last night, like you said, it was kind of a last-minute deal, and I asked specifically, I said, what happens if the go-live is delayed again? Is there any chance those offices could catch up? He answered back, yes, depending on the root cause, the need to delay the go-live event and the calendar time to the new go-live event. I don't know as though we have everything completely settled to make this decision. And I don't want to put this thing off and have to do this again in a couple of weeks, but I think we need to. I don't think we have all the answers on this thing yet. What happens if there is some delay and these offices catch up? Does this reduce the contract amount?
Catch up. That's what I read with Wallace.
Greg Wallace said in this email that yes, there's a chance if there is a delay. That was the email that came out yesterday. He said, yes, there's a chance, depending on the circumstances, that may happen. I don't know as though this is a decision we have to make right this minute. This is, I mean, it's an addendum to the contract, but I think that we need to get the information and figure out where we are before we agree to this with a potential. I understand that. I understand that. I completely understand that. And assessing the blame doesn't do us any good right now. We're standing in a spot. What is the best way to go forward from here? And I think that
the other offices and saying that we're going to do something else to delay the other offices from going live on December the 5th.
No, I don't think that it's necessarily anything that we caused to make the delay. The delays have occurred organically in this process. And my understanding is there could be further delays. I just, I think it's reasonable. I'm not asking for a lot here. I think it's reasonable to look at this and wait until we gather some more information and figure out where we are on the other side. I don't think this decision has to be made today.
Drew, again, you're the one that's working with them and have to do this. You tell me. I mean,
so
jeopardizing everybody else in the county from going live on December the 5th. That's what I want to know.
Can I grab my phone to grab the email?
Yes.
I'd like to address that, Judge, is that we can have a discussion with Tyler in my office looking at where I am. We're not far behind everybody else. And in those phase 1 and phase 2, removing my information and then going back and putting it back in, we need to get an exact criterion as to what is all that is involved. Why are you extracting what's already in there? The commissioners wouldn't let us out of this contract. Didn't have the authority to let us out of the contract. So what information are we talking about? When I spoke with Mr. Wallace, I said, is everyone in the county ready to go live? And he had his reservations. I do too. We speak with the other clerks in the other offices. You just approved the Purdue contract. Going live, we need our collections agency on board. That hadn't even been set up yet. And the clerks that run our offices that will be dealing with the Tyler Odyssey Justice Program, they haven't even gone through the training to what the actual product looks like. And that's scheduled for next week. And when I posed all those questions to Mr. Wallace, he said, we may have to move back the go live a week or two, and that had nothing to do with the county clerk or my office. By him saying that, I said that would give us 2 additional weeks. I know my office could join in that process potentially. He said, yes, you're right. If I had Ashley from IT, who she and my clerk led the way for this, she knew what all she was doing. That is a possibility. I think we have to have there is a clause in the contract where we can dispute this bill. I think that needs to sit down and be done with the stakeholders so we can explain, because I know where my office is in this process. They do too. Let's find out if 1 week or 2 week would make it possible. So paying this contract is not in the county's best interest right now if we can get a hard explanation exactly why. So there is some room to negotiate in there. Drew?
Okay. To answer the court's questions, so this is the email that I received in the last paragraph. It says, as we have discussed in the governance meetings, Tyler delivers to contract. At present, the contract includes all offices going live in a single-phase approach. The attached amendment that Ryan forwarded the county judge and commissioners modifies the contract where we can move forward with a two-phase approach and meet the December 5th target date for phase one. So the way I interpret this, again, is we have to sign this amendment to move forward. Again, not an attorney. Not an attorney. But I said the same thing to Matt Mills as well when I had this conversation with him. The way this is, or the way that paragraph read, is we have to pay for this to even move forward. And then that would start the negotiation for the other two offices. I could be wrong, but that is how I take it.
That's what I'm saying. What I don't want to happen is us don't sign the contract, don't do, and then we come back and now it's $500,000 to fix this, where we wouldn't have anything had you gone live to begin with. That's what's so discouraging to me. It's so frustrating. So that's what when I looked at it too, that if they're not going to go forward unless we sign the addendum, this is what it's going to take to complete the project.
That is my understanding.
Okay, so what you're saying is phase one isn't going to complete without signing the contract for phase two?
That is the way the email states, yes. That is the way I read that.
That's new information. I didn't, to me anyway, I had not considered it that way. My understanding was that this was going to be for the second phase. But this is, do what?
Explain phase one, what they're going to do.
Oh, we've gone through this. We had a week where we had the IT department doing with Tyler software. So I think it's straight. Where are you going to get the $220,750, Ms. Kidd?
I'll take it out of the general fund, contract services. That will wipe that budget out, but that's where I'll take it from.
Let me tell you, I'm probably as more upset than you are about what it's costing the taxpayers of Hood County. It was such, you can smirk all you want, Judge Gillen.
Don't start again.
Hey.
I'm sitting here listening.
No, you're sitting there smirking. And it's very, very serious that this money that is costing the county, and I hate it so bad. We could be using it for all these law enforcement officers that are sitting there in the back rather than having to pull money out again for something that if you'd have gone along with the other three JPs and Katie Lang would have done it, we wouldn't be talking about this at all. I'm worried about that if we don't do it, that it's going to cost even more, that's going to give them more reason to come back here and try to switch and blame the county for delaying for the other offices that have worked and are ready to go live on December the 5th. That's what concerns me.
What concerns me is your blame game. You keep blaming me and Dub. We ran into problems. I reached out for help. I had no communication from you, Judge. You didn't email me, you didn't text me, you didn't call me, you didn't come to my office and discuss this with me.
Now you're going to finally blame me? I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
anything
you're blaming
about
me.
Tyler Software
Why
that
don't
can help
you quit interrupting
Becky,
me?
Kid, and Drew,
Why don't you
I
quit
told them to
interrupting
give
me
you all the
and let me
help they could
talk?
give you.
You didn't give me anything.
You've been
You
offered
didn't
help multiple
communicate
times by
anything
at least
to
two
me.
people in the county employment.
What?
You've been offered help at least 2 times, multiple times.
Not from the right people. Oh my gosh, I would love for you to come to my office, sit down with me, and I can show you what I'm up against. Nobody has done that. I need a technical person to help with the conversion. There are thousands and thousands of questions that they gave my office. I've already been through all this. This would take a year and a half to complete. Forget about December 5th. But Tyler has not come back and given me a solution, and neither have you.
Out of all this.
Judge, I'll make a motion if you would let me entertain it.
Yes,
You know, I've heard any more discussion if you want to. Yes. But I move that we approve the addendum to go to second go-live for the offices of the county clerk and JP4, and sign the amendment, the addendum, for $220,570, with the money being taken from contract services.
by Commissioner Cotton to approve the additional cost associated with the revised proposal from the Tyler Software for JP4 and the County Clerk's Office in the amount of $220,750.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All oppose?
Nay.
Okay. Okay. The vote is 4-1 in favor of paying the additional cost. Okay, this brings us to item number 8, Sheriff Deeds.
Thanks for making me after item 7. So everybody's in a great mood. So anyway, over the last few weeks, we've been doing a lot of talking, especially with Commissioner Andrews. I appreciate all the time you've spent with my guys and me to discuss all of this. So I guess it's up to you guys. Unfortunately, this world that we live in today, it's peace officers are in short supply, and I'm losing them fast. I've got 8 spots, and I've got 5 others talking about leaving. So I need some help. It's up to you guys to help me out. So sorry I have to come back for more money, but I need to keep things going. So, and we don't need a Band-Aid. We need to fix it and fix it right so we can keep these guys. So appreciate whatever you can do.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak on this subject. And I am thrilled to see that this topic about paying our sheriff deputies, our first responders, to take better care of them, I'm glad to see this on the agenda, because it's so critical to resolve this issue, because we're losing too many good men and women to other counties, and it's leaving us at risk. It's putting them at risk as well. They're risking their lives every time that they report for duty for this community. And it is imperative that we take better care of them. We replace vehicles, we fix buildings, we waste money on things that could be taken care of to get people with the program. Well, while that, human lives are much more important than all of that. And raising taxes is definitely not the answer. but we could possibly use some CARE Act funds until a better solution is found. I'm waiting for a workshop on that. I don't know if that's possible. I know we talked about this before. And by the way, during a previous meeting, we said that 5% increase for 2023. I'm sorry, but that's a drop in the bucket when they're running 20% or more behind in pay comparison to other counties. I think it's high time that we stop being the county with a reputation as the worst paying job county. Take care of our first responders, and that includes our fire department. I think a permanent fire department would be in order too. They all deserve it, and I can't see that we don't have two deputies riding together. They've got to have their back. And with the crazy people out there right now, with everything that's going on, we need that protection for them, for Pete's sakes. I'm sorry. A recent article was in the paper, city electric workers abruptly quit. Why? Because of poor pay. What would you do if our deputies decided to do that? We'd be in a heap of trouble, wouldn't we? And then what about if there was a national emergency or national event that took place? Sure, the National Guard would come in, but the thing is that you're taxing more stuff on our deputies. That's horrible, and fatigue can hurt them. You can't expect them to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, forever. They're going to break down. We need to take better care of them. And I really, I know you can find, I know Ms. Kidd has a heck of a job trying to do the budget and everything. And I'm sure that she will find some money. And what I urge you gentlemen to do is to get this resolved immediately, not tomorrow, not today, but how about yesterday? Take care of our first responders. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Tina Brown.
Hello. I was really hoping that there would be more discussion to see if I had any questions, before I came up to speak. But she did bring up something that I hadn't thought about, CARES money. So is that even a possibility? Do we have a plan? Are we going to discuss different options?
Yes, the plan is to use some of the ARP money to pay for the comp time that has been accumulated by all the officers.
Okay.
All right, so that's going to be done. And then I think Mrs. Kidd has been working very hard on that, but it's got to be very strict guidelines about using that.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I don't want to use ARP money for raises.
Well,
because what are you going to do?
I know. What are you going to do next year?
So I will figure out a way to get whatever the court decides. We will more than likely, it will be from fund balance. But I don't want to utilize money that won't be there in 3 years.
Good point. So is there, the flyer that was passed out last week by the Sheriff's Department that had all the figures and stuff, it just seemed like, along with trying to give these guys a raise and get them up to a certain point, are we going to streamline that? Like, if you've got 2 years, you're going to make this much. Is there a step plan being done for the Sheriff's Department in pay?
Yes, I think we've arrived at that.
Okay, I was hoping the discussion would answer my questions, and they might if after I sit down, and then I won't be able to get up and talk. What?
It's not just a one-time Band-Aid.
Oh, good.
The package has, steps in it.
Okay, I'll just look forward to hearing more discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Granick, you're next.
Well, another issue, we need to support our deputies. Oh, sorry, I'm taller. We need to support our deputies. We need to have that result support the Sheriff's Department and find a way. So some of these accounts, Becky's doing a wonderful job. Some of these accounts are not personal accounts of some department if we need to do that. But let's, as citizens, support the deputies.
I'll jump in here. I have spent probably, about 60 hours or so in the last 3 weeks meeting with the sheriff's office, discussing this thing, trying to put some numbers together, coming up with something that made sense. And the first thing I came to is, where do I start on this thing? I look around at the other counties, and frankly, what we did coming into budget this year is basically the same thing that we've done forever, and it worked. This time it didn't work. Law enforcement has changed everywhere. It has become very you guys can go somewhere and write your ticket is basically how this thing has come down. Other counties around us, ERAF made a huge jump last year, and they have some incentives that we don't offer. Palo Pinto made a huge jump. They have incentives we don't offer. We missed, okay? We did. And we have to get in and fix this situation. I understand that. So where do we begin? So I started looking at it and say, okay, last year, the revenue increase into the county was about $760,000, $780,000, something like that from new construction. So if we raised revenue the 103% that's allowed by law, that's an additional $750,000. So we're looking at most next year's budget being able to be increased at $1.5 million. Okay, so that's kind of where I started on this thing and started looking at it from there down. What is a number that's reasonable and sustainable? You had mentioned the CARES money or the ARP money. That we can use that for some stuff to help Band-Aid this thing right now. We can use that we had talked about potentially using that to pay some comp time. Yeah, that kind of thing. But we have to look at paying for this in the future too, and we're behind. We are behind. I don't know how many times we sat in that office and said, I don't think that we can get where we need to be right this minute. It may have to be a couple of steps to get us there because we're behind. We need more deputies. Everybody has said that top to bottom repeatedly. We need more deputies. You put another deputy on, you're looking at a minimum of $80,000 a year. So even, whatever proposal. Right, yeah. So, I mean, there are a lot of costs involved in this, and we have to do something sustainable. It's tough to do this in the middle of the year and keep in mind how this affects next year's budget. So with that, I went in with the approach, can we get the salary somewhere in the $400,000 range? Somewhere in that ballpark. And I came up with a plan that did that, and I think most of the raises, I think from their salary now, talking about where we started in October, there were only 4 or 5 of those people that didn't have at least a $5,000 increase. And there were several of them that were over $10,000 increases. Now, a lot of this, historically, the way that they've had to hire people in has been whoever, somebody leaves, whatever their salary is when they walk out the door, they hire the next person in at that salary. This person may have 1 year experience, 3 years experience. Somebody with 10 years experience was hired in at a lower step. It's I think somebody said the shotgun approach is kind of how the salary situation is right now. So yeah, it was going to sit down, create a step system, something that made sense, and then put people on that appropriately. That's where some of the big numbers, the big disparity in the amount of increases came from, as some people were closer to where they should be, others were way off and needed big corrections. So, like I said, I spent a lot of time on this thing. I came up with about $400,000 in that ballpark with increases in salary and benefits, and put something together specifically aimed for that. And there were some significant increases in there. There were other things that were on the table that we were discussing doing, and don't know how far to get into those other things. Right now, I think we're talking about the compensation. The idea came out about paying the comp time. I think that would help. That would go a long way. Get some money in your pocket right now, kind of thing. And we can use the ARPA funds for that. So, you know, my plan was about $400,000, somewhere in there. I think there's another plan on there for, well, can we get those plans up on the screen? Is there any way that we could get those up?
Just along your point, since Saturday, I've got 4 different proposals for spreadsheets on salaries in the last 4 days. I got a new one at 6:30 this morning. I've got so many plans, I don't know which one to jump at. Yeah. We need to just maybe tap the brakes here and find out, what do we really need? Is this an emergency today? But we need to find out if we're going down the right track. I totally agree that we're in trouble with law enforcement. There's no question about it. We're having a hard time hiring people, having a hard time keeping people. But let's make sure we do the right thing here. So let's take a look at them. Let's put it on the board, let you guys look at it, let you know what we're about to do, what it's going to cost you. I think you need to know that. So I think the one he's going to show right now is, which one is this? I can tell by looking at it. This is probably the proposal by, I don't know, who's proposing this one here. I've had 3 sheets. One was made out by the sheriff, one was made out by Kevin, and one was made out by Becky. That's what I've seen.
So this one, I believe, is
this the starting point that Becky had made up?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I think if you, well, if you scroll to the bottom, I think it's somewhere around 365, isn't it? Yes, if you scroll to the bottom of that one. Yeah, that's one of the proposals that we looked at if we went with, yeah, there it is. That would cost the county $365,488 at that, and you can see all the salary. I think probably the main thing, just looking at the percentages of what their 2022 salary was versus what they're proposing, or what, Becky, I'll call you the court, because I think you got your instructions from the judge to do something. And what I heard is the judge, and I think we all agreed to it, that we need to at least bring up starting pay to $60,000. And I think we did that. And in addition, make some adjustments with the rest of the law enforcement. So that's kind of where this one come from, I think. And then, Sheriff, you can go ahead and, or Kevin, to explain the other 2, that why is this one good, not good? Is the other one better? Like I said, I've seen a lot of them. I just want to make sure that when it comes down to putting my vote on it, I'm doing the right thing for the sheriff's office and the taxpayer. And that's the balancing act that we've got. So,
what we've proposed is more than that, but it's to fix more things. There's a lot that needs to be fixed, so that's why it's out there. So what doesn't get fixed now, then we're still going to have some issues in the future. So,
you know, and I guess that is one of the questions, is how big a bite do you take right now? How sustainable is each of these plans going into the future? So that one, the first one was a 365 increase. That's salary and benefits over where we are currently? Where we are currently. Okay. So that's, okay, and then the sheriff's plan, is that the second one here?
yeah, 526, 334.
And then I think there was a middle ground.
Well, I guess that's where I ended up being the middle ground.
You said
444.
400,000, but I see it's 444, 311. So, yeah, you know, you're within the ballpark. So, but, I mean, that's what we're dealing with. That's.
I'll tell you this. I ran the first time that I ran for judge, saying that for me, have law enforcement, thank you for shaking your head, yes, Ms. Lee. You don't have accounting. And I had promised these guys, and I ran on a platform for strong law enforcement. And it's no secret, and I don't backstep one iota on what I have done for the sheriff's department as far as increasing the salaries for the jail personnel and the salaries for the dispatchers. And we had to say, God, where are we going to get the money? And we really worked on that. But I'll tell you this, we passed it, and as far as the jailers, they have more applicants now. It's run so good. Everybody wants to live in Hood County. They don't want to leave Hood County. But you've got to give them a living wage. And with Eric and the staff that the sheriff has, 13 years in a row, he's passed the jail standards test. And the sheriff and I have to sign off on that every year. And every year when they come out here unannounced, my heart is just beating like a little sparrow's. Are we going to pass this year or not? And that jail is so old, but they do such a remarkable job, and they did it. And they've done it for 13 years in a row.
14, actually.
14.
Because we just had that
this past
inspection.
year. No problems anymore. Same thing with dispatch. We got dispatch up here. Mr. Wilson and I were working on the big fire up there. We spent our Sunday up there from, 10 to midnight or whatever it was up there, and I could see how the dispatch was working and how they had to do and all the stuff that they did. We increased their salaries, and now they have applicants, and they got applicants from Richland Hills and people that were really well qualified. We've got a great dispatch team here now. And now we come up here with the most important people that's actually going out there every day and putting their life on the line. And we're up here worrying, how are we going to do this? Well, I've been talking to Becky about it, and I think we've decided that we got the ARP money that we can use to pay the comp time, because I didn't really realize how serious that really was, that we're asking these guys to work for free and not get paid for it because there's not enough deputies, et cetera. That's just wrong. And we talk about holidays, and we had a good discussion about that. And I'm saying this, is that Thanksgiving and Christmas, I think everybody would be nice if they could spend it with your families. But I told the sheriff and a few other ones here, when you say you're going to be a law enforcement officer, you're just not going to be able to spend every holiday. 4th of July, the sheriff and I were always up there doing something on 4th of July all day long. Memorial's Day, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, hey, that's when we need you the most, probably. But Thanksgiving and Christmas, you need to be paid for that. And this is what Lieutenant Roberts said about here, that if you can't be with your family on Thanksgiving or Christmas, at least pay us enough that when we're off, we can take our family to a nice meal or do a lot for our family to try to make up for that. I'm agreeing with that. So I think we need to pay those two holidays, not the other 106 that the rest of the county gets, but those 2 days, those two holidays, yes, I'm for it. About taking home your vehicles, and I hate to say this, but if you live in the county, yes, you need to take home your vehicle, especially you patrol guys, because they can go straight from their home and work an accident or work an emergency call or whatever. The top echelon, the sheriff, the chief deputy, captain, and lieutenants, y'all probably have to come in every morning to the office anyway, or should. But y'all, all of the officers love working for y'all. And I know all of you personally, and I know that y'all dedicated for doing this. And I am really fiscally responsible too. But I'll tell you this, when you walk up to a car at night on a traffic violation, you don't know whether they have a gun or not. And when you say goodbye to your wife and children, you don't know if they're coming home. And that's the sentiment that of all we had last week and this week, and thank you, Tina, for you shaking your head yes, and Ms. Canego, you saying yes back here about our police force. I'm proud of our law enforcement officer here. And I've looked at it, and I'm going to tell you what, and having one person on call 24/7, that we're going to pay an extra $100 a week, that's a great idea. And we need to do that. It costs $5,200 a year. But that means that somebody is always on call and they know they're going to be prepared for it. They got babysitters, whatever. No, they got to be there ready to go. So I'm going to tell you, and I like this. The latest plan that y'all met with me on yesterday was a pay scale. And what they start out with was a $60,000. We got to have that, folks. We got to have that. And then they have it where you're adjusted for like for the lieutenants, all the deputies, the corporals, the sergeants. You get the years that you've put in, and it's a real good schedule. And it's something we can live with, and it takes care of the problem for years, at least 4 years. And it's money, it's a total money. We talked about $400,000. At one point I saw something in here that it was $560,000. But the difference is up here where these people are telling us, this is everybody, the sheriff's office, they could see what was doing, and after talking with all the commissioners and everything, they slashed $150,000, I think, over the weekend. So they're working with us, folks. They're working with us. And I want to work with them. And so they've come back and they have proposed a pay scale here that I think is most appropriate. Do we have this pay scale? Do we have the 4 pages up here? Drew, do you have this, the last thing that the Sheriff's Department's given?
You should have that. We sent that. That was the second page that Shannon sent down to you.
I'm talking about the very first, I'm talking about page 1 where we got the pay scale and the holiday and the overtime policy, all that. Next page. Yeah, that's right. I got it right here. Yeah, reduce it right here. That's right. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's the second page. That's it. Yeah, okay. You see this? This is the pay scale, the Appendix A here. Which is the last page that we're going to get to, but I like this. So I'm saying that I'm in favor of adopting this pay scale. This is what we need, and this is something that we're not going to have to come back here for 4 years. I think that these people are going to be able to, and people are going to want to come here, and we're going to have the same problem that, I say problem in quotes, that we have at the jail and the dispatcher, where people want to come here rather than leaving us. And I'm just all for this. We lost one, like I said before about on these school shootings and stuff. If we have a real terrible incident in Tolar or Lipan and one in Crescent, how do we expect the sheriff's office to be able to cover 2 incidents like that? The county is this big. We've got one police department, and that's in Granbury. The police department, we've got 9 municipalities. The sheriff has got to cover the entire county here. So, so that's my deal on pay scale, item 1. On item number 2, pay off the remaining balances of all holiday and comp time. We got ARP money, and there's a special project, a special line item that we can use that money to do that. And that's not a raise. It's something that's not recurrent. That's why Becky Kidd is so, that's why she's a good auditor and why she doesn't want to commit and use money that's not going to be there next year or the year after that and the year after that, but we can use it to pay off an indebtedness. And that's what we can do for item number 2. Am I right, Becky? Use ARP money to pay off the comp time balances.
You can only use the 2-year COVID period.
Yeah.
Period. No more.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's
How about what's already been accumulated? Yeah,
comp time that was accumulated from calendar year 20 and 21.
exactly.
Nothing more.
Okay, but that's a lot of it.
That means no holiday pay could be paid out of the ARP money.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah,
the
because
holiday
that's
pay is
been
gone.
accrued. Yeah.
At the end of the year, unless we've extended it, there is no holiday pay left in those 2 years. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I was just pointing out that that can't be paid out of the
All right,
ARP.
here's what I'm saying. Just use as much of it as you possibly can to get rid of all the comp time.
Well, with
Good.
that being said, you need to pay comp time off prior to increasing their salaries, or you're going to be paying a lot more out in comp time.
Okay, well.
Same thing we've done, with dispatch.
Okay.
Pay the comp time on your existing salary, not the future salary. That makes sense. They earned it under the old salary.
Overtime pay, we're going to have to pay overtime pay. Everybody's used to overtime pay. I mean, if you work more hours than that, I'm just for that. But holiday pay, only 2 holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. The holidays, sorry. Can't do that. Make home vehicles, only if you live in the county.
Check something right here. On the take-home the vehicles, currently there are 7 patrol deputies and 4 investigators that live out of county. Documents right here. The ones that live in county should be able to take them, home. The patrol deputies especially, and even more so for the ones that's on call on a weekly basis. But the ones that are out of, that's a lot of more additional wear and tear and fuel. And I met with, several of the sheriff's office yesterday for an hour and a half. And that's the only real hang up I've got on what they put together, is that.
Good. And I agree with that. The on-call pay, like we said here, hey, you're on call for 24/7 for that week, they can work that out, and they had a good plan. They know how to work it out and keep a guy on call. And the 4 new additional deputies, it frightened me when they said that the national average was 1.8 deputies for every 1,000 citizens, and then something else, maybe statewide or something, you could get it on up if you fudged to 2.8 deputies for every 1,000 citizens. And here we have, I don't even want to repeat that again, it's about 9,000 citizens for our deputies.
I got a comment on that one, just to make sure we're clear. I think we went through this with the maintenance department, had a problem with stipends, Treasurer. Didn't we said that we couldn't really make that work as a stipend, so we increased the people that were on call, their salary, somehow. Well, we tried to do that with maintenance to give them on-call pay, and the person that was doing it. I thought you had a problem with that. Okay, but I just want to make sure that how might, yeah, okay.
Being that person that can be on call.
Anyway, that, just make sure that we work that out to where it works properly for you and the auditor, if that's where we're going with it.
Is that the same process you want here on item 6? It's exactly how we did with environmental,
No, it was maintenance. We just need to look at it to make sure we want to do it the proper way.
Okay.
So, and I think we had an issue that with the maintenance department about the person that was on call. There was something about that, and we just didn't, we had to put it into their salary somehow.
And that's pretty much what we did do, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so however they worked that out.
They know how to do that, but it's no more than $5,200 a year spread out on all the deputies, right?
The investigators. Yeah. The investigators on call.
Okay, so anyway.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, because I think that this is pertinent to that. If somebody's on call and lives out of county, What about a vehicle with them? Where are we going to draw a hard line at the county line? Because I think Captain Barry had mentioned that you've got a couple of guys that live 100 yards across the county line. Where are we on that? Do you know how far? Do you have some numbers as to how far some of these folks live outside of the county?
On that recommendation of the 30 miles radius, then they no more than that, using that.
That would cover everybody, 30 miles? What?
That well exceeds the mileage there, and that was just, I think, as far as, I got one that's a couple hundred yards. I mean, you hit that on the head with that. A few other ones that you go up to, say 171, jump right over into Johnson, and they're right there. So exact mileage, I can plot all those things, but none of them are anywhere more than that 30 miles. They're significantly lower than that. So.
Got one patrol and one investigator that lives in Fort Worth. I don't know if y'all haven't looked at the mileage of where they're at. Got one.
Just another thing to keep in mind that our applicant pool, when we start talking about filling these openings, does come from that 30-mile radius outside the county. We have a lot of guys when we talk about filling positions that are going to commute from a little bit outside of Hood County. So that helps pull those people in as well when we stretch that to the 30-mile radius.
That's
If that's the limit, of 30 miles outside the county, I can live with that. It's when we start driving, 50, 60, 70 miles, they want one way, I got an issue with that.
I think that's probably a fair deal, because I think you're going to be getting some applicants from other municipalities. So
Well,
I agree with Commissioner Wilson on that. I like the radius.
Well, and we'd also discussed that we don't have enough Tahoes for everybody to take one home right now.
No.
So what we had kind of mentioned is if you're working consecutive shifts, because that's also on their time. They've got to come in 15 minutes early, get their stuff situated in the patrol car for that day, take it out at the end of the shift. So there's a time factor involved in that translates out to money also. So by working or taking that home on a consecutive shift, that's probably 30 minutes that you don't have to spend getting your stuff in and out of your patrol car. That, I know that it does increase our liability by having the cars out on the road a little bit, but there's the intangible effect of you've got a uniformed guy driving down the road in a patrol car. The people on the side of the road don't know that he's on his way home or don't know that he's on his way to work. They just assume that he's on and ready to go, and I think that there's absolutely a positive impact just having patrol cars on the road. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I'm allowing it for those people that are working on shift now with their car that's issued to them. We've got night shift cars and we got day shift cars. We can't overlap days and nights because sometimes the days is working late and nights is trying to go out. So, yeah, it's just the on-call, or just the people that are on shift for now, since we don't have that many cars. I think we need like 15 more.
The shift is not a 12-hour or 12-hour shift. You don't clock in and clock out 12 hours later. It sometimes goes longer. I understand that.
You got to work till the work is done sometimes, especially if you get dispatched to a disturbance or this more severe calls. You can't just say, hey, it's 6 o'clock, I got to go home, hope you live through the night. You got to take care of it and deal with it, and they do, so.
Well, here's the other thing. The state of Texas, for the first time, has got a $30 billion state surplus. And I've heard 2 state representatives now say that Abbott says that what he's going to really try to do with that is portions of the school taxes on the maintenance and operations section of it to reduce that, which will also help the counties not have to collect so much taxes. So I hope that's true. But I also want to remind people that we had just raising the tax a little bit when we were talking about raising and getting extra $180,000 for the volunteer fire department, and it only mattered about, what was it, $40 a year or something like that on your overall tax bill. I mean, that came up to be like it was something like a big Whopper 1 month. I mean, if you just didn't buy a big Whopper every month, that's what it would be. But it made a difference of $180,000 that was earmarked and only would go to the volunteer fire department up here. And we had some commissioners that voted against that. We're going to have, we got a lot more people living in Hood County now than we did a few years ago, and that means a lot more expenses. I don't like property taxes. I own property too. I've got to pay the property taxes. So I mean, nobody likes that. But you have to be faced with reality that it's going to cost more. And so when it comes up again next year, and we all have to sit here and vote on a property tax rate, just remember that. You can't come up here and say, oh yeah, I'm very, very sorry for the sheriff's department, but yet I don't want to raise anybody's property taxes. Well, it's got to come from someplace. We've got two sources of revenue: ad valorem taxes and sales taxes. That's it, folks. That's it. Now, I hope the $30 billion at the state surplus, that it goes the way that Abbott says, and that something happens at midterms and we get border security in Texas and Arizona so the states didn't have to pay it. And we can use this money to reduce property taxes. Or if somebody would have the courage sometimes to raise the sales tax a penny or something, that we could pay off something. But this is what I'm for. I'm for giving this department here that they have gone too long, too far with too little. And this is, I'm for adopting what the sheriff's department has proposed to us and worked out after they slashed that with the few.
While you're on it, roll to the next page till you get to this one here, Judge. That's on the next page. Roll it. That's
county pay scale.
That's the new bit right there.
Yeah.
We use a matrix now that's very confusing, probably about 10 steps. You go left and right, very confusing. This is what they're proposing by the sheriff's office for the new pay scale, as you can see. So if we've got a chief deputy making
can you make
for 3 years, we're proposing that he'd make $99,800. I'm asking you, is that pay scale included in the matrix that you gave us? Is this this 526,000? So that's using this pay scale matrix?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that that wasn't an addition, wasn't an additional cost for this matrix over and above the matrix that we're given. So that's the proposal also that's coming from the sheriff's office on the matrix.
It makes it just less confusing, doesn't it? And we're hiring everybody. It's fair to everybody, to the deputy, to the officers that are already there, and to the new ones that are coming in, you know? So, I mean, we owe this to these men, and then I think that it's no doubt in my mind, let me say this. What happened in Uvalde was shameful. And I know most every law enforcement officer in the county, I'll tell you that. And I tell you, every one of them here would be rushing in there to protect those children. I do know that. Whether they said stand down or not, I don't think anybody would. I love our law enforcement officers. They're brave, they're courageous, they're steady, and they're good people. And I just think that it's time that we just give them a fair, decent living wage. That's what I'm saying. We just owe this to them. So, you know, that, it's going to be my motion. I've looked at so many charts the last 3 weeks about this thing, till I'm cross-eyed about everything. And the sheriff's, I thought, was high last week, the last time I talked to them on Friday when I left, and then they came to me on Monday, and I looked at this, and I just really, with the slight modifications that I've talked about here on the record, that's what I'm going to be for giving our law enforcement officers at the county's office. You shaking your head, yes, Ms. Carnejo, too? Yes, sir. Okay. Well, that's, and I think we're going to be able to make it. We have, you know, I just think that we can do this. And this can come out of the fund balance deal to pay this, can't it, Becky? You and I have been talking about this. I'll tell you, I'll sign it. I'll sign it, but I don't have to sign it. I look at, don't be wringing your hands up here, Leanne. That's not a sign. We need this. Hood County needs this, from my perspective. That's all I can say. We owe it to these people that have served us. And I'm going to be prepared to make that motion, by the way. If y'all through talking about it, I'm not going to say anything more. That's my position on it.
Can we address any of this other stuff at this time? I think the comp time.
Again, I'm encouraging you, if you're going to pay comp time and do these, I would not do them together, because then that's a lot more money to pay out that we don't have to.
Right.
Unless the court says pay the comp time as of today or yesterday, and then you get the raises that you want to do.
When is the beginning of the next pay period?
Sir?
When's the start of the next pay period?
Monday.
We just started. Yesterday.
Yesterday.
It was yesterday, so it would have to be through last Friday, or through the, Sunday.
Can we do that? My understanding is state law don't let us pay backwards, so it would have to be the start of the next pay period. Is that correct? I hate to, golly, I hate to be the rain on the parade. I promise I do. That's not.
If we don't use the fund balance to balance our budget like we're talking about doing now, what would this do to our tax rate next year? Got any idea? Got a wild swag that what it might do to your tax rate?
An additional 4 cents.
About 4 cents, is what you think, to cover this type of an expense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You want to do this right.
My favorite thing to do. Are you making a decision today? That's what I need to know.
Well, I want it as soon as possible. I don't want to wait anymore, but what's the best?
Is this what you're looking at to approve?
Yes.
Behind you on your
Yes.
screen?
No, the next page.
Talking about the salary matrix?
I don't care about the salary rate, but we need to make sure that this wording is correct before we move forward.
Right.
So
I
if you're going
think
to
that
approve this, we need to sit down and talk about it.
I agree with that.
I think that there's,
Okay, well, but Appendix A, the most important thing is the pay scale that's on the other pages, okay? So
Well, it's fine. I just want to make sure if we're approving this, we need to reword some things on there.
Okay, yeah. Well, Appendix A wouldn't change in my view, but like I said about the comp time and the other stuff in the thing is what we're talking about here. So the pay scale would remain the same. Okay, but like the comp holiday time, I'd say we have to work that out, but I'd like to start the pay
The
scale.
salaries I don't have a problem with, but if we're going to, especially item number 3, if we're going to talk about paying overtime up to 86, clarification on the overtime after 86 as Kevin and I discussed, is that comp time or is that overtime rate going to be paid out? So those are clarifications that I need for my office.
And I think that in discussion, we had talked about some comp time being a good thing.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
if we're
And I
paying
love the
everything,
thought of
there's no way
holiday
to get
pay.
any.
I really would like the holiday pay to be pushed forward. But when I read the overtime, you have to be real clear on what's overtime and what's comp time.
Right. And that's something that we had talked about, and I had thrown the idea out there that pay them straight time for every hour worked. If you work 108 hours one week, you get paid straight time for 108 hours. But everything over 86, the half on the time and a half would be comp time. And they seem to be pretty agreeable to that. I think that it kind of contains the budget a little bit because it can go nuts with overtime on that. So it kind of gives us a little containment so that we're not too far off the
Whichever way you
reservation
approve,
with
we
that.
just need to make sure the wording is correct before we approve it, because this, to me.
All right with you?
I'm sorry?
Is that wording all right with you?
That, item number 3 is, oh, okay.
What we just talked about, you said that's unclear to you. Okay, I got that.
Yeah.
That's unclear. So we need some clarification.
Right.
So no matter how many hours you work, you get paid straight time for the number of hours you work, and then for the number of hours you work more than 86.
Right.
You get half time. That goes as comp.
Okay.
Is that right?
Right, but that's not the way item number 3 reads.
No, I don't, forget that.
But that's what
Hey,
I'm saying. If you're going to approve this today.
Leanne, forget that, all right? We're talking about something new.
You
We're
have to
trying
pay
work it
attention to
out.
the details before you approve it. That's the only reason why I'm asking if you're going to approve this portion today.
I don't think that.
Okay,
I
if you're
think
not
this
going
is
to
a
approve
work in
this today,
progress.
no issues.
Okay.
But we need to discuss this page before we move forward.
Okay.
On policy and bring it to the board for approval.
Yeah.
There will need to be a policy put in place.
Okay.
So would the new pay scale go into effect 2 weeks from yesterday?
Whenever you deem it effective is when I could put it in place.
That's what I would like.
Because that would be.
We'd like to do.
Preferably, I'd like for it to start on a pay period start day,
Yeah.
because then you're going to have a lot of differences. I mean, that would be my soonest. Well, we could start, what is today, Tuesday? We could start yesterday.
Can we? Because I thought state law says you can't pay anybody more than agreed to for work they've already performed. So I don't know if,
Not to retro.
Right.
Now, I don't know if one day would be an issue or not.
Either do it today or yesterday or the next pay period start.
Can we do this next pay period so that we can get all the comp time and everything worked out? I think that that's
Now,
probably
with that
the
being said, I
best.
cannot pay the comp time right away. I may have to just do the comp time separate before the next, yeah.
For reporting purposes within the parameters of Fund 83 and Fund 101.
Right. And I don't know with the way that this is worded if we can pay comp time today. I think we need to have a special called meeting on this.
Well, if you increase their salaries, I need to pay their comp time.
Prior to.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. So I think that if we say,
Start the next cycle, that gives us time to do the comp time calculations, get that all put, to bed, and then, go forward at that point.
Right. And
Well,
I
we-
agree with Melissa. We need to have time to sit down and, come with a policy, however we're going to change it, and have that approved. Salaries, not a big deal to me, but when you put in wording that is not clear.
and we had discussed some other options with some of this, paying holidays and stuff like that. We had, there are plenty of options on the table, and I think that it would be a good idea for us to sit down and sort through all that before we do that.
Pay scale, which is the last page, page 5, 4 and 5, we can approve that today, and the rest of what's on page 3 or 2 right now, what we're looking at, that would be what would, we've got to iron the details out and do the, changes to the, everything that we've got to change.
Sure. Yeah, I just, once you approve it, I just need to make sure I know the effective date.
Is that possible? Ms. Kidd? Okay. Yeah, all right.
And comp.
Well, the reason it's so important to me is that we've got some officers, I think at last count there were 4 officers that were doing background investigations from other departments. I would like for them to know that this is their new pay scale that's been voted on and approved by this court, so they can stop looking and investigate and not cut us another 4 deputies short. That's why I would, 5, that's why I'm saying, so we can do that, vote on the pay scale, and then get the next 2 weeks to work out the comp time, the holiday time, and the other stuff.
I just need the effective date. When you're
All right.
making the motion, I need the effective date of when it would start. So if it starts yesterday, effective yesterday.
What is today? Today is the, no, we're going to start yesterday is what there's.
Or next
Hey,
pay
I
period,
don't want to
whichever you
lose.
choose.
Hey,
Whichever you choose, I just need to make sure it's effective
we
date.
got 5 deputies riding the fence right now. I don't want to lose any of those 5 deputies.
You got to get the comp time out of the way and pay. Are we going to lose deputies if we wait 2 weeks to start the new salary?
I mean, it's coming. We'll say.
Well,
Are you?
We'll say this is coming.
Is it legal or possible? I'm just going to say, is it legal and possible to say, pay the comp time ending Sunday
Right.
at the old pay and then move forward, even though you can't talk about it for a week or?
Well, it would be effective if it's the next pay period, it'd be November 21st, that Monday. If we waited till the next pay period to start the new pay grade.
I think that's the most reasonable thing to do, is to start the new pay scale on the 21st.
Everything, even though we adopt the pay scale today, or, possibly adopt it, and then, iron out the details on what we're seeing on the screen, on that screenshot right there. Between now and then, that go into effect at the same time. And anybody that's on the fence, knowing that, the pay scale's been, if it's approved, then, that eliminates them being on the fence to leave.
That we'd vote, if we voted to adopt the pay scale to take effect in the next pay period. How about that? And the rest of the stuff, everybody works it out before the next pay period. Does that work? Well, that's going to be my motion. I move that we adopt the pay scale and the pay schedule in Appendix A as presented by the Sheriff's Department. Yeah.
I want to make sure we're doing the right one. Is that the 526,334?
No,
No? No. This is the 609.
451.
I thought you guys worked down from 609 to 536.
We'll take more, though, that's okay, but, yeah. Yeah, this one in here was a little higher, so.
The 526 was before benefits?
It's got the benefits off to the side, though, so what that'll figure.
I just want to make sure we're straight on what we're voting on. On what salary increases we're going to get. In addition to the matrix is the matrix, but we're voting on this.
That's not the right one.
Make sure you get the right one.
One of your packets is correct, and that's what we told about.
Okay. Okay.
Last page.
And the 609 is.
609, 451.
That's the difference.
If we add 4 deputies to that, we're at
Oh, you
nine,
$1 million.
in next year's budget. Man, I'm hesitant on that. Please understand that I'm all for giving you guys, getting you in the right spot, but I am hesitant to pull the trigger on $1 million committed to next year.
I'm
That's
confused on the schedule. There was one in my chair when I got there this morning, and I put those in the three plans, so I'm confused because the latest one I got, there was a number that you guys had that was wrong, but it just helped you, because what I had the ending balance of was 526,000 plus some.
Yeah.
That's the one I had. Because again, the last year number was incorrect.
Is that the one that you emailed out this morning, Becky?
So that's the 526, 334.
Okay, that, I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page.
There was 2 errors and one just entering errors on 2 people from the one from the one you entered up here. There was 2 errors, there was errors on 2 people. Yes.
Well, see, we got one 600.
But I just, I want, you don't want to skip there and say 609, that's 526. You know,
Becky.
We're all good. We're all good. Everything's fine. The
Everything's-
609 had an incorrect number in it. The 526 is correct.
Okay, and that's the one you gave us this morning, 6:30 this morning.
Yes, sir. Good Lord.
Why didn't you wait till I got in court and then give it to me?
Well,
What's the full number?
Sir?
What's the full number
I'm gonna throw this
from 6:30 this morning?
6:30 this morning. 526, 334. That is the
Yes.
difference in what was
Yes.
budgeted for 2023 and the raises that will be given.
Can we put that on the screen?
I don't know. Becky, did you give this one to Drew to put it on? We haven't got this one on the screen, do we?
Yes.
This one is?
Yes.
Can we put that up to look at it?
Let's put it up there and look at it. I don't think it's that one. That one's not the one. That's the one the sheriff gave us.
Yes, that's the one. Go down to the bottom.
One more page up.
Go down a little bit, Drew. Right there.
526, 334. Yeah,
That's the actual difference after I corrected that current total. That is the current total budgeted for fiscal year 2023.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
Because you corrected the number, I'll give you. That's the correct number now. All right. That's my motion, that we attach the, you get one more half question, yeah. Yes, Ms. Kidd.
I've not been problems today. Okay. I need you to make a motion before you do this one to instruct me to make the proper line item transfers in Fund 83 and Fund 01 to support paying off comp time. Okay?
Can we do that? That's what I was saying. I think we have to have a special call meeting for that because it's not addressed on the agenda.
Okay, and that will be the agenda item, so we need to do that between now and the next court and get that over and done with so that Leanne and I can work together on the actual hours as they are right now today.
Where's our attorney? You know, the agenda says discuss and take appropriate action regarding proposed pay increases.
Which is different than paying off comp time.
Would that fit in there as a pay increase?
No.
No, maybe different, because it's
Pay
comp time.
increase and paying off comp time are separate.
Different, okay.
This isn't going to hold anything up. We just want to do this proper.
I agree with that.
Right, I think that, yeah, I think that if we had a special call meeting Monday or something, then we could come in with all these other things that we needed to discuss and get those hammered out and talk about the comp time.
I think that's wonderful. We'll be right then, for lack of a better word. We'll be politically and morally and ethically correct.
Not going to be right.
It ain't right.
Scale appendix is the total of $526,334. That's the difference? Okay, and that's the one that's up here. So everybody know what we're trying to approve then? That's what we're voting on for the pay scale increase for the sheriff's department. That's my motion.
Second.
Say second by Commissioner Wilson. My motion is to approve the pay scale that shows the difference. Is this it right here? Yeah, this is it right here. What we're going to do is just attach this to the record, like we do in a real courtroom, is to approve the salary increase for the new total of $4,493,786, which is a difference of $526,334. Increase. Is that right?
Effective November 21st, effective date.
Yeah, to be effective November 21st, 2022.
And I still second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Sheriff, keep running the good department up here. Here, attach this here to.
Thank you.
And I'll personally thank, everybody that's been involved in this, Commissioner Andrews, Becky, all of the people from the Sheriff's Department trying to work this down, because at one point there was a considerable amount of more funds being required or requested, and we've arrived at a nice position.